All right, so we're joined by Father Ryan. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you. So we met the other day early on the ship, oh dark 30, when the sun was coming up, trying to behind the rain
Exactly.
clouds. And you have been at the altar every time that we look up, right? You've been there for
Yeah.
Mass. And when you think of a good news cruise, when that title hits you, what do you think of right away?
Yeah, well, it's what hits me right away is the word is beauty.
Ah,
Because I think of, for me, the good news is beauty himself became in flesh. That's
ah,
Jesus. And then a cruise, you're seeing beautiful sights. So
yeah.
there's an intrinsic harmony of just this lens of beauty. And then, of course, for you guys here, the good news cruise is particularly the good news about marriage on this cruise. So
Yeah.
trying to awaken, dust off, and kind of vivify the beauty of married love. So beauty is kind of the word that comes to mind for me.
Yeah. Your story is so interesting. You shared a little bit of it with my wife Susan and I, but uh, talk about that coming into ministry for you, becoming a priest.
Yeah, so out of high school, I was on pretty much a full ride for jazz trumpet performance. And I
Ah,
got to play with some big name people, and Berklee School of Music in Boston has a satellite campus in Cleveland. So I was slated to go 2 years in Cleveland, 2 years in Boston. Uh, had a big conversion in adoration. I was volunteering at a youth group retreat and had a big conversion with Jesus in the Eucharist after a confession for the first time in a long time. And Jesus, very gently in my heart, I felt him say to me, I know. And I felt like he just knew what it was like to be me and all the hardships and
mm,
difficulties. And I felt so loved and cared for that my heart really exploded just with a lot of love and joy. And
wow.
so from there, I did the logical thing. I said, you know what? Maybe I should go do acting and comedy. So I switched from music.
You worked for Father Krupp,
Yeah,
right?
exactly right. So I went to acting comedy. I did Second City in Cleveland. I took classes there and performed with the cast at different places. And in doing that, I had a young priest come out of my life say, you should go to the seminary.
Wow.
And I said, no, thank you. And he kind of was insistent. And finally, through prayer and reflection and things like that, I decided to go ahead. And my goal was I was going to give it 1 year.
Mm.
If it wasn't for me, that was
Hmm.
fine. But if it was for me, I was 1 year closer. So I gave up 1 year and went. And I've been a priest almost 10, and that was 9 years, so almost 20 years ago now.
Wow.
So
And your family background is interesting as well, right?
yeah, so my dad was Jewish growing up. My mom was Catholic, so I was baptized as an infant, always Catholic in name, basically. As far as a
Mm.
living faith in the home, neither Judaism or Catholicism was really alive in the home. Um, I'm 18, my parents get a divorce. I enter the seminary at 21.
Mm.
At 22, my dad becomes Catholic, and I'm my dad's godfather.
Wow, is
Yeah,
that wild?
yeah, so I'm pretty unique.
There's a book in there. Have
So
you thought about it?
we have enough books in this world. We don't
Yeah.
need me trying to do something. But yeah, we know the interesting thing is you know your life in reflection.
Hmm.
While you're living your life, you're just living your life. So this is just normal for me until you start sharing it with people, and then their reactions are how you kind of reread your own life and go, oh wow, everyone I tell the story to thinks this is amazing. This might be something unique. It was life to me.
Right.
And then you start saying, oh yeah, I guess this is weird, or I don't know anyone else who has these themes. So
Yeah. So, thinking about good news for the world, spending a lifetime in the television news business, we're finding good news, or at least hearing about it. It's there. It's maybe just not always talked about.
sure.
It's kind of nice to be bathing in good news. I mean,
Mm.
there's the good news, right,
Right.
which we all know is the gospel, but then there's also this idea that there's so many great things happening on this cruise, especially for married couples, that are so encouraging.
Yeah, very much so. Well, the thing I like about it is the Good News Cruise is kind of like a Trojan horse, right? You get people in through the cruise, and then what erupts on them is also a 5 day long, if you want to call it, conference, counseling session, spiritual direction for your marriage.
Retreat, yeah.
Retreat's the best word, probably. So you have this cruise, and at the heart of the cruise then is this retreat. I know a lot of couples who may give a day long for their marriage,
Yeah.
or maybe even a weekend retreat, possibly for their marriage. It's the ability to get away for 5 days. We tend in America to say, I'd do it for a vacation, of course,
Hmm.
but for a conference, to grow in our marriage can feel indulgent, can feel like I can't leave the kids or whatever I have to leave behind. But when it's combined, a vacation and a conference, I know the presentation things and the beauty of the cruise and everything has helped these couples have really deep connections in ways they wouldn't have if it was just a conference or just a cruise.
Hmm.
So it's facilitated kind of a two-prong approach of the beauty, leisure, and joy of a cruise, and the depth and insights of a conference or retreat, those are coming together with, of course, Mass and just good Christian fellowship. And I think it's a great combination. I think the Pilgrim Company kind of hit it out of the park.
Yeah. And when you talk about beauty, that's an on-ramp for so many people, even coming to faith, right? The beauty of a cathedral, the beauty of God and nature,
Well,
creation.
yeah, here's something that people don't realize is when you hear the word evangelization, I think there's something in us that thinks it's automatically about telling someone what they have to stop in order to become a good Catholic. And we need to recognize that if that's what we're doing, we just don't talk to the person because you're going to be mean.
Mm-hmm.
Really what evangelization is first seeing what is already good and beautiful in this person's life. What are they already loving? Start there. Now you have something, because anything that is good, beautiful, and true is of God. So anything in their life they're already loving that's good,
Yeah.
they're already in the grammar and language of God. Now you're just putting some words and images to flesh it out for them.
Mm-hmm.
But if we try to start with this is what's wrong, we're always going to be seen as like a hammer or a finger pointing. And so it's really important to begin with beauty. John Paul II, Benedict, and Pope Francis have all asked us as a church to begin with the way of beauty.
And if I'm not mistaken, Bishop Barron talks about beauty as being a major on-ramp for people of all ages.
Yeah, in the 20th century, they all got this from a major theologian named Hans Urs von Balthasar. You don't name kids that anymore, but it's a good name.
Yeah.
And he was a Swiss theologian, and he wrote these tomes of theology on beauty. But him and a lot of other thinkers coming out of really the tragedy in Europe of the Holocaust and things, seeing such grossness and darkness, begin to say, is beauty actually an insight or a distraction? Is beauty giving us a taste of reality, or is it distracting us from the fact that reality is really about power and whoever has it wins? And it became this really visceral reflection for them because they saw things like the Holocaust and those camps and things. So they're like, is beauty actually more powerful? Did beauty take on flesh, suffer, die, and rise to show us that beauty wins? Or is it just like cotton candy? It's fun as a kid to look at and taste, but it ain't going to do much for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of really began some of the generating thoughts of beauty in the last century that have then led to even much more profound insights by people infinitely smarter.
Well, and you can take it for granted, and here we are, sitting looking at an ocean and an island that's made just for us, right?
Exactly.
And that's something we can't turn the camera on right now, but
we're
spoiled can we
we're
get?
surrounded by beauty, we're talking about it as if people want to look at our faces. You know, this is crazy. Yeah, exactly.
So have you heard anything, and I guess we could call it anecdotal, but probably some profound comments. What are you hearing from couples that know you from Cleveland or people that just walked up and they heard your homily? What kind of comments are you getting?
Yeah, well, thanks for mentioning. I have been uncomfortable about the amount of just positive reflection about my homily I gave that really touched people and
well,
moved
let me make
people.
you more uncomfortable. It was fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, in my mind, I'm a priest. It's a daily mass homily. I do my thing. But the response, that was really overwhelming to hear people so hungering for just what the Lord put on my heart, and I shared, and that was really powerful. But also hearing couples, I think our culture is relentlessly productive. And so to step out of that, to be at a conference where you're not producing anything, you're receiving, to be in a cruise where you're enjoying and rejoicing, and to be with the one you love as a spouse, to have those, hopefully they're having great moments of affection and things, you know, they're married couples, they ought to. It's not productive, it's just good. And there's something freeing when we step out of the workaday world, and I'm seeing and hearing that in couples. One couple, they're waiting for the elevator, and he just kissed her out of nowhere, and she goes, "Thank you so much." She just this little sign of affection from her husband, and her heart was moved with such gratitude. Or this older couple, I don't know, I would have thought maybe in their 80s, but maybe in their 70s, who knows? And he goes, "Can I get you more Diet Coke?" She goes, "I would love that." And he had trouble with his knees, but he walked all the way over, which it looked like 10 football fields based on how he was walking, to get his wife just a little more Diet Coke at lunch and come back. And she was so grateful and just kind of touched his hand. These are little moments that are like, something's at work here. There's something being renewed. It's great.
And I don't know that it has to be, to your point, profound. I live with a woman who finds love in the little things, and I appreciate that so much, because there are sometimes as a galoot that I may not recognize that I should be that guy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a time for us to recharge. So as you would look to encourage anyone who maybe is just catching this idea for the first time and seeing you, why would someone come on the 2025 version of a Good News Cruise?
Yeah, I think it's if you're a disciple, it can as I keep the reason you do it is it's the Catholic both and. You know, he's divine and he's human. He dies and he rises. You give and receive. You know, the Eucharist is a sacrifice and a meal, and the Good News is a cruise and a conference. It's a
Yeah.
cruise and a retreat. And so, you know, sometimes the ticket price, I mean, we're all tight financially, so the ticket price is like, oh, but you're getting two things for that price. And it's like, if you enter into the talks, you enter into the beauty around you and the sacraments, you're going to leave Friday as a stronger couple. And if that gives you a year of greater depth and greater tenderness, I'm not sure how much it would cost for counseling for the year to maybe get close to that, but I bet it'd be more than the cruise, and it won't be as enjoyable. So I have no problem encouraging it and supporting. It is my first cruise I've ever been on. So
Wow.
I can say if you've never been on a cruise, it's just hard to explain, but it's amazing.
Well, prior to speaking with you, I was speaking with Rachel and Jason Bullman, and Rachel made a comment about this being an investment because there are going to be couples of all ages, especially younger couples, who are saying, well, this is a big thing. We got to get kids lined up and grandma and grandpa. And I think to look at it as an investment in your married life is a good way to think about it.
Father Mike Schmitz is on the ship this time, and he was just saying that, you know, priests and physicians have mandatory ongoing formation. You have to read, go to a conference. It's mandated. It's in your promises as a priest that you will continue to grow. We don't do that for married couples in an official way, but it's built into if love's not growing, it's deteriorating. And so there really is something wonderful about that. And you know, I think I just walked by, someone just said 40 couples already signed up for next year's. We're not even done with this cruise. They're already signed up for next year's. So you have enough couples saying, what is good here, we want it again, and they're going to do it right again. And so that's a great thing.
Well, Father Ryan, it's great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Time with you. Thank
Good
you.
to see all of you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.